It was just past midnight, and I couldn't sleep. The ceiling fan spun above me with the same lazy rhythm it had been following for hours, its soft hum filling the silence that should have been filled with her voice, her breathing next to mine, the warmth of her body beneath the covers. But the other half of the bed was cold. Still. Like no one had ever been there. We were 2 days into our honeymoon at a beach resort in Cancún. The wedding was a blur, flowers, toasts, dancing, a few tears. The kind of wedding you imagine when you're a kid dreaming about adulthood, about commitment, and forever. I thought the vows we said meant something. God knows I meant every word I spoke. Her name's Kayla. We met 4 years ago at a coworker's birthday party, one of those rooftop mixer things with overpriced drinks and people pretending to care about small talk. She was wearing a red jumpsuit and said she hated parties. We talked for hours. I walked her home. She kissed me before she went upstairs. That was it. Hooked. We had our ups and downs, breaks, reconciliations, therapy once, but when I proposed, I really believed we were stronger for it. Kayla said she never wanted anything more than to be my wife. She said she couldn't wait to start our life together. She said forever felt easy with me. Funny how easy becomes something else entirely when you're sitting alone in a hotel suite at 12:27 a.m. Watching the empty bed beside you like it might start whispering secrets. I had asked her earlier where she wanted to have dinner. She said, "Let's just do the restaurant downstairs. I'm kind of tired, don't want to go far." We were seated by the windows, white linens, candlelight, ocean view. She was glowing. I mean it, glowing. Like she just stepped out of a movie scene. Hair pinned back loosely, gold earrings I hadn't seen before, a fitted sundress that made it clear she wanted to be seen. I remember she kept checking her phone. She said it was her cousin texting about the wedding photos. Said they were funny, we looked good. I believed her. After dessert, she excused herself to take a walk, maybe call my sister. And that was the last I saw of her. That was around 9:30. I waited. I called. No answer. I went down to the lobby. No sign of her. I walked the beach, checked the hotel bar, even asked the front desk if they'd seen her. "I think your wife just left the restaurant an hour ago," the concierge said. She was laughing. With a friend. A friend. No name. No face. Just that word. That word stuck with me as I stood in the elevator, hands in my pockets, hearing the floor numbers ding their way to the top. Friend. Could have been someone from the resort, a guest. Could have been a waiter. Hell, it could have been no one. But the way she didn't answer my calls, that wasn't like Kayla. Or maybe it was, and I just hadn't seen it before. I laid back on the bed and stared at the ceiling, at that lazy fan, wondering when the honeymoon turned into a riddle. Maybe it was the way she looked past me at dinner, like she was rehearsing something. Or the way she laughed, loud, free, like she wasn't afraid of being watched. I remember thinking it was strange. Beautiful, but strange. She didn't laugh like that with me anymore. Not since before the wedding. Something in me didn't want to believe it. I've seen enough pain in my life to know how stories like this end, and I didn't think I was living in one. Not me. Not us. But she didn't come back that night. She walked into our suite around 4:15 a.m., barefoot, heels in hand, a half smile on her face like she knew I'd be awake and didn't care. "You're up," she said, as if she were stating the weather. I didn't say a word. Just watched her peel off her earrings and toss them on the dresser. She didn't offer an explanation. She didn't lie. That was worse somehow. She climbed into bed like nothing had happened. I laid beside her, eyes wide open, thinking about the waiter she kept smiling at during dinner. I remembered his name from the receipt, Rafael. And just like that, a switch flipped in my head. We sat at the hotel buffet the next morning like two strangers forced to share a table. The only words exchanged were functional. "Do you want coffee?" "Yes." "Toast?" "No." Kayla looked rested. Or at least, like she didn't care how she looked. She wore sunglasses indoors. Her lips were slightly swollen. That detail stuck with me. I tried not to stare, but my eyes betrayed me. Every part of her felt suspicious now. She buttered a croissant and ate slowly. I stirred my coffee until it went cold. Rafael wasn't working the floor that morning, but I could picture him easily. Tall, dark-haired, tattoo barely peeking out of his sleeve. He looked too casual to be a waiter at a resort like this. Something about him seemed like he didn't belong in a uniform. Like he wore it for convenience, not necessity. I remembered the way Kayla smiled at him. I'd seen that smile before, but not in a long time. "You okay?" she asked. "Fine," I replied. "Tired?" She nodded. "Me too. I couldn't sleep." I almost laughed. "You couldn't sleep?" "That's funny, because I stayed up counting the hours you were gone." I didn't say it. I wanted to, but I didn't want to give her that satisfaction. Not yet. We spent the day doing what honeymooners are supposed to do. Poolside lounging. Room service lunch. A massage in the spa I had booked months ago. She acted like everything was fine. Like I hadn't spent the night staring at the doorway, waiting for her to walk through it with guilt or blood on her hands. That's what betrayal felt like to me. Not a knife. Not a scream. Just silence so thick it made your stomach turn. I started paying attention more than I ever had. Every time she picked up her phone, every time she looked toward the service staff, every time her tone shifted slightly when she mentioned going for a walk. She thought she was being casual, but I saw it. I saw the tension in her jaw when I asked what time she wanted dinner. The way her voice fluttered when she said, "Let's go somewhere else tonight." We went to a different restaurant, off the resort, near the harbor. I picked it. She didn't protest. She wore that same red lipstick she hadn't used in over a year. And again I noticed how much effort she put into her appearance that night, even more than she had for our wedding dinner. She didn't touch her food much. Kept glancing around the restaurant. Like she was expecting someone. I played along. I asked her about the wedding, what her favorite moment had been. She smiled. The vows. She didn't say my vows. Just the vows. And that was when I knew. She'd already disconnected. Mentally, emotionally, maybe even physically. I was the man she'd married, but not the man she wanted. Not anymore. Maybe not ever. She was scanning for exits, excuses, distractions, other men. Rafael, most likely. I excused myself halfway through dinner and pretended to go to the bathroom. I slipped the waiter a bill and asked, "Is Rafael working tonight?" The man looked confused at first, then said, "See, but he is. Off the clock now." I nodded, tried to keep my voice even. "Does he live nearby?" He hesitated, then said, "Sometimes he stays in staff quarters. Sometimes, not." That told me everything and nothing at the same time. Back at the table, Kayla was texting. She put the phone away quickly when she saw me return. "Everything okay?" I asked. "Yeah. Just checking in with my mom." She didn't have to lie. She knew I knew. But she lied anyway. Later that night, as she undressed for bed, I caught sight of a faint bruise on her thigh. Maybe it was from the beach. Maybe she'd bumped into something. Maybe it wasn't. She didn't offer an explanation, and I didn't ask. She curled up beside me, whispered, "Good night," like it was normal. I whispered it back. But inside I was screaming. The next morning, she was already gone when I opened my eyes. The curtains were open just enough for the light to cut across the bed, catching the shape of her robe thrown carelessly on the chair. Her sandals were missing. So was her phone charger. I lay there still, not moving, trying to feel anything other than what I already knew. But the thing about betrayal is, it doesn't explode. It creeps. It takes its time. It pretends to be something else first, a headache, a stomach ache, a thought you can't finish. I got up and walked to the balcony. A maid was changing sheets at the poolside cabanas. Tourists were already sunbathing. Kayla wasn't down there. I showered, got dressed, and walked out into the hallway with no idea where I was going. I was just following the pull in my chest, that sharp, silent need to find proof of what I already felt. I ended up back at the restaurant. Rafael was there, in uniform, setting a table by the windows. He looked up and nodded like he recognized me, and maybe he did. Maybe he saw the same shift I saw in Kayla. The permission she gave him with her smile. The game she was playing with her ring still on. I walked past him without stopping. Sat at the bar and ordered a coffee. And from that angle, I could see everything. Kayla wasn't there. But one of the other waiters, older, worn, with deep lines under his eyes, came over and started chatting with Rafael. Not the kind of work talk you make casually. Something quieter. More guarded. They looked toward the elevators. Then Rafael tucked a napkin into his pocket and stepped away from his station. He was off again. I didn't follow. Not because I didn't want to, because I knew it wouldn't change anything. Watching them would hurt. Knowing it without seeing it still left room for control. Back in our room, Kayla was on the balcony, sipping something from a champagne glass. She looked over her shoulder. You went out? I had coffee. Alone? I just looked at her. Her smile faltered for the first time. It didn't take much. We went snorkeling that afternoon. Or I should say, we were scheduled to go snorkeling. Kayla said she wasn't feeling up to it. Said she was sore from yoga the day before. She hadn't done yoga. I knew it. She knew I knew it. But she kept talking like she could trick her way back into innocence. I told her I'd go alone. I didn't even like snorkeling. What I liked was the silence of the boat engine, the excuse to be unreachable, the way salt water stings your eyes just enough to cover tears. I dove in and floated. Let the water wash over me until the weight in my chest felt a little less solid. But it never left. It was still there. And it was shaped like her. When I got back to the room, she was asleep. Or pretending to be. I stood in the doorway for a while, just watching her. She looked peaceful. Like nothing had happened. Like she hadn't slipped out at night while I stared at the ceiling fan. Like she wasn't sleeping next to one man and getting touched by another. And there it was again, the bruise. Higher on her hip this time. Faint. New. It had shape now. A hand? She asked me the next morning if I wanted to book the couple's massage we talked about before the wedding. I stared at her. Do you really want to do something that intimate with me? She looked up from her phone. What's that supposed to mean? I shrugged. Nothing. She bit her lip, that same gesture I once thought was shy, endearing, and said, If you're upset about something, you should just say it. Am I supposed to be upset? She went quiet. Then she said it. Calm, like she was reading it off a script. I didn't do anything wrong. And that was when I realized she believed it. She believed it. Or needed to. On the 5th day, I stopped pretending. I followed her. She said she was going to the spa. She left in a white dress, hair pulled back, flip-flops. I waited 2 minutes. Grabbed my keycard. Took the back elevator. She didn't go to the spa. She cut through the garden, past the pool deck, toward the employee wing. I stayed far enough not to draw attention but close enough to see the moment she looked over her shoulder. She didn't see me. That somehow hurt more. She walked down the hallway toward the laundry area. A staff door opened. Rafael stepped out. He wasn't in uniform. He smiled at her like he knew every inch of her. The way she walked into him, no hesitation, no guilt, confirmed everything. She touched his chest first. He kissed her neck. They disappeared into a side door, and I didn't follow. I sat on a bench nearby and stared at my hands. They were shaking. I don't know how long I sat there. At some point, a staff member asked if I needed help. I said no, that I was just waiting for my wife. And I guess that was true. She came out maybe 40 minutes later. Alone. She fixed her hair like it meant something. Wiped her lips with a tissue. Checked her phone. Then she walked right past me without seeing me. That was the moment it all broke inside. I wasn't even worth noticing. That night, she climbed into bed wearing one of the silk things I had bought her for the honeymoon. She smelled different. Not like perfume. More like guilt covered in coconut lotion. She curled up next to me and whispered goodnight. I didn't answer. I just stared at the ceiling. Not at the fan this time. I knew it wouldn't help. I don't remember falling asleep, but I remember waking up at 2:08 a.m. She wasn't beside me again. This time, I didn't panic. I didn't look for her. I didn't count the hours or make excuses for her absence. I just sat on the edge of the bed, stared at my suitcase in the corner, and started folding clothes. You learn a lot about yourself in the silence between betrayal and reaction. I folded the white shirt I wore on our wedding day. The one she said made me look like the man she always imagined she'd marry. I packed the navy tie she tied for me that morning. I packed the sandals I wore when I watched her say, "I do," with tears in her eyes and something else behind them. I left the framed photo we took in the lobby the day we checked in. The one where she was leaning into me but looking away. I unzipped her side of the suitcase and placed her ring inside. Not the box. Just the ring. She could do what she wanted with it. I left a note. I didn't write much. Just 3 lines. You can keep the story. I'll take the silence. His name was Rafael. I slid the envelope under her pillow. By the time the sun came up, I was gone. I watched the ocean from the airport window. It looked different in the daylight, less romantic than when we arrived, more like something I needed distance from. Like it had been in on the whole thing. The flight home was quiet. I didn't speak to the woman next to me, and she didn't ask questions. Maybe she saw it on my face, the empty look of someone who just walked away from a marriage 5 days after it began. When I landed, I had no texts. No missed calls. Not even from her. That part surprised me. I thought maybe there'd be a message, something carefully constructed to protect her version of events. Something like, "I'm sorry," or, "I didn't mean for it to happen." But nothing came. Not that day. Not the next. 3 days later, I got a single email. "Trey, I read your note. I'm not going to argue with it. I didn't plan it. That doesn't make it better, just makes it harder to explain. I think I needed something. Not because you weren't enough. Just because I wasn't. Please don't make me a villain. But I understand if you already have. Kayla." I didn't reply. I didn't forward it to my friends. I didn't print it and burn it. I didn't add it to the scrapbook we never got around to finishing. I just archived it. Sometimes I still wonder what happened in that hotel room when I left. If she went back to him. If she cried. If she wore the ring for the rest of the week and pretended nothing had changed. But I stopped needing answers. That's the thing about betrayal. It teaches you that truth doesn't always come with closure. Sometimes it just comes with absence. With the space someone leaves behind when they decide your love was never enough to keep them curious. And me? I got a refund for the unused nights. I didn't even have to explain why. The woman at the desk just nodded when I said, "Plans changed." I moved out of our apartment a week later. Kayla didn't come back for her things. She didn't even ask. I left them all in boxes by the door. Untouched. Like the life we were supposed to live. And the last thing I packed was the small printed card the hotel left on our bed the night we checked in. "Congratulations to the newlyweds, Mr. and Mrs. Taylor." It wasn't true anymore. But for one moment, in one room, it was. And I keep it. Not because I miss her. But because sometimes the worst thing someone ever does to you starts with a kiss at a dinner table and ends with the words "I'll be right back." And they never are.